Hi everyone, I thought I'd take a few moments to share with you my progress about 2.5 months post hair transplant. So I had my hair transplant on June the 28th in Turkey, in Istanbul to be specific, by Dr. Sinik's clinic. So for those of you who have been following my videos, you'll know that I had the surgery with Dr. Sinik's sister. And my progress has been tracked on previous videos. At point of prior to having a couple of days after having the transplant surgery, a couple of weeks on, and about a month on. So I've just been incredibly busy. I was hoping to record a video at about 2 months. So apologies. I've fallen slightly short of that, but life gets in the way, as I'm sure you're well aware. So yeah, I mean, in terms of progress, I've certainly seen some decent growth, but before I show you my head, I think it's important for me to show you what my hair was like prior to transplant. So that's a picture just there, prior to having transplant surgery. And as you can see, I wasn't entirely bald, but I had quite a bit of thinning at the front of my head. And I was quite keen that, I got it done around about then, just because I didn't want to have to wait until I went totally bald. There's lots of you who have done very similar things. As soon as you start seeing your hairline recede, or if you start seeing patches in places that you're having to cover up, I'm sure many of you will understand. For me, it's about trying to prevent the stage which you most worry about, and that's going completely bald, right? So let me show you very quickly what the progress has been. I've recently just had a haircut as well, so you'll be able to see the donut area as well. So that's the top of the head. And you'll see there's still some level of thin areas, but my sort of hairline was sort of receding over at this stage. So that's the kind of new hairline, and effectively, that's thickening up. Now, there's a couple of you who did ask on private message, in terms of shedding. So yeah, I certainly did shed. In the previous video, I was kind of expecting it. So I shed, I would like to think, probably 6 or 7 weeks in. So you'd go for a shower, wash your hair as normal, and then realise there's lots of hair on your hand. Not particularly worried about that. And what you can see, if I zoom in a bit closer, are those little hairs that are actually coming through post-shedding. So, I mean, looking at it now, it looks like a decent growth for 2.5 months. They say that the thickening or the real growth begins to happen at about 3 months. So I'm tracking as per that evidence, that sort of research or experience people talk about. So that's reassuring. So I'm going to swivel around so I can show you the sides of the head as well. So again, that's the top, and then you've got the right hand side. I'll come round to the left. And that's the rear. And you'll see on the rear, there's little evidence of me having had a hair transplant. Whenever I've been to my barber, he's just blown away by how quickly it has healed, based on sort of what he's been able to see over the years with people having hair transplants. So I'm really pleased, right? It's funny, when I'm at sort of places where I've spoken openly to other men about having had a hair transplant, or even women, either it's the women's husbands, significant others or whatever, or the men themselves sort of really asking interesting questions, because simply, there's lots of people who want to do it, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. And funnily enough, there's been a couple of my friends and people who I speak with, colleagues as well, who have then ended up researching Dr. Sinik and have booked themselves in. One's literally just returned, and there's another one that's going in a couple of weeks' time, and one in October. So I wish there was a referral scheme. There certainly isn't, unfortunately. But the results do the talking. So I'm certainly pleased with the results that I've got, and there's no pain. as well. You know, that's something else that other people are asking, you know, as to whether I'm still experiencing any pain. A little bit of numbness, but to be honest, the sensation on the donor area has come back quite rapidly. It's just the front. I mean, I only had this section done. I say only, but I had 4,500 grafts packed out in that front section just there. So that's where I wanted to focus. You know, the back of my head is fine, but it was the front where I wanted the density. So I'm sure, you know, give it another 4-6 weeks, we'll start seeing additional thickening. But I'm really pleased, and the hairline is fairly consistent to what it was like probably about 6 or 7 years ago, prior to kind of this angle going upwards of late, prior to obviously the transplant surgery. So look, I'm going to keep it brief. If you want to ask questions, or if there's anything that you'd like to inquire about, give me a shout. I'm very, very happy to help. You're more than welcome to look at my previous videos where I go through the type of things that I'm taking, you know, on a day-to-day basis. I take sort of vitamins and the recommended stuff, and, you know, shampoos and so on and so forth. So you can have a look at that in my previous videos. No point me repeating it now. But look, you drop a comment below or just reach out directly, and I'll be very, very happy to help. All the best.